Hey kiddos, so we're going to compare fractions just a little bit more. Here we're going to be comparing different numerator and denominator fractions. Now remember, the denominator is the number at the bottom. It tells you how many parts the whole is broken down into. And the numerator is the number at the top, and that tells you how many you're going to be counting out of the parts that were broken down. So the first one that we have here is 1/3, which means we're going to break the whole down into 3 parts, and we'll be counting 1 part out of that. This one is broken down into 8 parts, and we're going to count 6 of those out of there. And this one is going to be broken down into 6 parts, and we're counting 3 parts out of there. Now if we're looking at these numbers, or at these fractions, 1/3, do you think that would be bigger than half or less than half? Yep, I think that one would be less than half also. How about 6/8? Is that bigger than half or less than half? Well, half of it would be 4/8, right? Because half of 8 is 4. So I'm thinking that 6/8 is going to have to be more than half, right kiddos? And then 3/6. Well, 3 is exactly half of 6, right? So this should be about half. Okay, so 1/3, as we talked about, was less than half. 6/8 is more than half, because half would have been 4/8 to equal half of that. And 3/6 is half, right? It's equal to exactly half of it. And here's a picture to show you how that would look. Here is the whole broken down into 3 parts. 1, 2, 3, because 3 is our denominator. And we counted 1 of those, so 1/3. Here it's broken into 8 parts of it, and we shaded in 6 of those because we're counting 6 of those. And then we broke this one down into 6 parts, and we counted 3 of those. And you can see here, this is less than half, right? This one would be more than half, and this one is exactly half. All right, kiddos, so if we're going to look at these ones, 4/10, 2/4, and 5/8. I want you to think about it for a minute and decide what you think. If 4/10 is going to be more than half, less than half, 2/4, more than half, less than half, or half, and 5/8, more than half, less than half, or half. Okay, so 4/10 would be less than half, right? Because half of 10 is 5, and so 4/10 is smaller than that. 2/4, well, 2 is exactly half of 4, so that must be about half, right kiddos? And 5/8, well, half of 8 would be 4, so that would make 5/8 more than half. And here's a visual of how that would look, right kiddos? Nice job, because they had it broken down into 10 parts of the whole. 4 of them were counted. This was broken down into 4 parts, and 2 of them were counted. And this one was broken down into 8 parts, and 5 of them were counted. You guys did awesome.